Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Discuss Detroit. Today, I'm going to be talking with Mike Hahn, artist, chef, uh, creative genius, and who is involved in so many different amazing projects. Welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Jeanette. Thank you. It's so great to see you. It's been forever since we've last talked.
I know. I was so excited when I got your email about the really unique exhibit, and unique in different ways because of COVID protocols and all those things as well. And I was like, oh my God, I want to talk to Mike and find out what's going on. And then we get to do this. And so other people can learn what's going on too. So we were trying to figure out as before we got started about, how long we've known each other and when we met, with Detroit. You kind of just seem to like sometimes always, oh, I've just known them forever, right? And but there's always that a certain beginning, right? So what did we figure out? You said
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
So that was Inside Detroit Days, which was the original name for those that are new to this discussion, or Detroit Experience Factory or City Institute, all of which we're working on today. But originally was called Inside Detroit. And we didn't have a big branding session. It was like, hey, well, what if we just wanted to give people the inside scoop? We want to make them feel like they're part of something. How about Inside Detroit? Okay. That was our branding
That's
strategy.
great.
So I will say we did have a couple meetings, maybe me and my friend Maureen, who started it with me. And there was, one idea that didn't work, but we thought would maybe like, well, it's kind of like friend for rent, like if you just come hang out with us, it'll be really cool, right? And then we thought through the idea of friend for rent with two young women as a running it would probably not be construed how we hoped it would be construed. So that was definitely, we had some thought to the process, but Inside Detroit was the original thing. So,
Love it. Love it.
so talk about your origin story. Tell us about yourself, Mike.
Yeah, so like I try to create like the cliff notes for this because it's a mess. It's really messy and long.
We love it. And bring it on, man.
Because I think I've lost count. I used to count, but I think I've lived like 15 places or 16, 20. I don't know, something like
Cities,
that.
15 or place, like cities or like neighbor,
Yeah,
yeah, cities. Okay.
cities, I think. Well, cities or maybe times. I forget which way. Because it's like, so I was born in Ann Arbor. I'm gonna do it super fast.
Yeah.
Born in Ann Arbor, Boston, Holland, Michigan, Westport, Connecticut, Stevensville, Michigan, Plymouth, Michigan, West Lafayette, Indiana, Plymouth or Detroit, Detroit to LA, LA to Detroit, Detroit, multiple places in Detroit, Detroit to Chicago, Chicago back to Detroit, Detroit to New York, Miami, Detroit, Denver, Ann Arbor, now Detroit. Did it.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, as with for an artist and creative, just every place you go must, you find new inspiration, new ideas, connecting dots of things. So, and it's a wide variety of types of places, which I think is amazing. So many people rarely get to, experience such that a variety of lived experiences and neighborhoods. And, can you get more different than New York and, Holland,
Stevensville,
Michigan,
Michigan.
or like Stevensville. Yeah, I couldn't even remember. I was like, I think I'm assuming.
Yeah, I forgot Kalamazoo. I also went to Weston for a minute.
Okay, all right, go Broncos, go Broncos. So that is pretty impressive. What as you went through all those places, now, talk about what you were doing, what you were learning, what motivated you, drove you to move to these places to get us to where we are today. Bring us up to modern day.
Yeah, so sushi took me a lot of places, and then so it was kind of like going back and forth between like art and sushi and school, and then dropping out of school, and then when I dropped out of school, then I would do sushi. So it's just been this meandering kind of path where like I've been very adamant about creating something, about building a business, and I wanted to incorporate food and art. I've known that for quite some time, and that's I think why I struggled inside restaurants is because like I was a perfectionist and I was creative, and like I just wanted to do it differently, and I wasn't allowed to really do what I wanted. And so it's just that's what took me from place to place, and had varying degrees of being able to be creative. And why in Detroit I tried to open up 4 different restaurants in the past 10 years, and one of them opened and I got kicked out of that one after 6 months of opening. And then my most recent one in Ann Arbor, we were a month away from opening, and then COVID hit, and I was unemployed for 6 months, and had no income from June till November because even unemployment payments for some reason they stopped coming after in June, even though I'd still like was supposed to get them. And so in November, I got a commission mural, and painted for somebody in their home, and that was my first income, and yeah, in 6 months. And so in December, then I was like, okay, I need to make a decision, and I decided, well, if I can't make sushi, then I need to do my art, and I need to, out of practicality, like it's something I've made money on last month. So I need to like go all in and see if I can make it as an artist, because I need to pay January's rent and I have no idea how that's going to happen. So yeah, invested everything into an online weird show and just made work and made it happen.
Well, and that's what, we were talking about even just with COVID and like the innovation that comes in crisis. But I mean, I think it's interesting too that, you're like, okay, I need money, so I gotta do my art, which is not, normally people are like, okay, I've been doing art and now I gotta go make money. But that's where, because this isn't, though sushi has been more of the focus, like you said, it's ebbed and flowed, art, sushi, and it's not exactly separate, right? I mean, and you've been doing art for a long time, and you've been doing sushi for a long time. What got you started, or where did you learn about sushi or what made you want to start bringing that to the Detroit community, or whichever community you were in when you first were thinking
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so I got exposure really early on. I was really lucky because we were living in Connecticut when I was in like elementary school, and we would go up to New York, New York City all the time, on the weekends. So New York was my first, city, and I fell in love with cities, and graffiti back then. It was the late '80s, early '90s when I was there. So I kind of caught the tail end of some really awesome graffiti in New York. Keith Haring I was exposed to when I was really young, and sushi and modern design and things like that. So I got to eat sushi since from before I have memories, and I would eat like nigiri. Like I didn't want like I would want all the weird stuff. Like I was just a weird kid, and so I ate it my whole life. And it wasn't until um, sophomore year of college where I applied at a place in West Lafayette, Indiana. I applied as a host, or a server at this, Korean Japanese place, and the owner was Korean, and we're, I guess a lot of Asians don't come in, so it's like they're like, well, do you want to learn how to make sushi? Because you kind of look like a sushi chef. I was like, okay, and so I learned really quickly because, I've been eating it, and, I'm good with my hands. So yeah, that kind of started it, and ended up working at some great restaurants around the country after that. So
Wow, that's really cool. And your family is Korean, right?
mhm. Yeah, and they're all based in. We're in like the Plymouth, Canton kind of area. A lot like my mother, father, sister, cousins, and they're in Ann Arbor kind of area. So
Cool. Yeah, the west side of the region there.
yeah.
So then talk about this. Well, first of all, talk about one of my favorite projects that you did on the DeQuinder Cut. So we were talking about some of the different things that we wanted to highlight, and I live right on the DeQuinder Cut, and I am with my my triplets. So that's that 2-year-old triplets. I haven't, we were talking also, we haven't seen each other in a while, and that's partly COVID. It's partly triplets. It's partly you traveling all over and living everywhere, but we get to stay connected via social and all of those things. But talk to about how the art, so sushi and art. So then where did the art inspiration, and when did you start making art, and what led you to this commission that we're going to show on the DeQuinder cut?
Yeah, so I think it was like 2008 or nine. I went to Korea for the first time, and I've been kind of soul searching. I came back from Purdue. I dropped out of there and had a personal meltdown, and came back and was sort of soul searching. And so I went to Korea and had a great time. And I met my aunt there, who I haven't seen in many years. She asked me if I wanted to be part of an art exhibition there because she knows creative. And so it just my first show was in Korea, which is wild, in a group show. And so when I came back, that's what kind of spurred oh, I could maybe become an artist, I'd never considered that. And so that took me to LA, where I got into Otis, an art school out there. And I was going to go into toy design because my aunt was a doll, she has a doll museum now. I guess it was really foreign to me. I had no idea that these adult dolls were a thing. Well, back then, so I started researching, and then there's this thing called urban vinyl, and I don't know if you know Munnies and Dunnies and all these little customizable little toys that are for adults. And so I fell into that world and wanted to study toy design, but I'm a terrible student, and I dropped out after a semester or two.
I feel it's about learning. I love learning, but then sometimes it's okay, now tell us what you've learned. That's in the testing and the paper writing. It doesn't. If you actually really like learning, having to prove it is kind of annoying.
Yeah. So it was actually So I was actually at Columbia College in Chicago during the time of the mural that you're going to show. So I was technically in school at the time, but it was one of those rare moments where I had a teacher who was open-minded, where if I had teachers all maybe the one I had, maybe I wouldn't drop out, but I just was so sick of getting grades. I think that they were the dumbest things ever. And so for her, I was told her yeah, I'm not going to be here for my, I want my final project to be this thing. I'm going to create this double-sided mural. And I'm not going to be here for a couple for a week, and I'm going to miss the handoff, but this is what I'm going to make. And she's okay, that sounds awesome. And so the idea was to create a painting for the Riverfront Conservancy for their Soiree on the Greenway event.
And so did you reach out to the Riverfront then, because this was part of a project for, or you were okay, I need to do something for school, or how did that come to fruition?
Yeah, I think it was, so this was in then most likely 2013. And sorry, my cat's also here, so you can't see him, but so it was 3 years after I'd done Woodward Windows and stuff in Detroit, right? So I had started to network, and I actually curated the walls the previous year. And so they had this event coming up, and I had left Detroit because I had failed as an entrepreneur. My art business, went under. So I went to go to college to become an art director. If I was a really bad art director, creative director, then I was okay, well, I don't learn how to do it. And they couldn't teach me that either, even though they sold me on it. So I'm just I keep buying into this idea that someone is going to be able to give me what I need, but I just have to, I'm finding I have to just do it on my own. And so that was, I went from there to, coming back to continue that relationship with them and do this mural for that project.
So we're going to go, and this is one of those things that we do on our virtual tours, is actually go on the street. So this is the DeQuinder cut, if you haven't been, and it's a picture is a few years old, but we can really see this is, if you've been on the DeQuinder Cut, which is a 2-mile greenway connecting the riverfront to and through Eastern Market. The Riverfront Conservancy is this amazing nonprofit that is just creating amazing spaces along the riverfront. And their tagline is "Bring everyone," right? Because it's just this amazing space where everybody's welcome. And they would have this event, annually have this event called Soiree on the Greenway. It's a fundraiser. But one of the things about the DeQuinder Cut, just giving people a little background, is that, see, this was a what they call Rails to Trails program. So this had been empty, hadn't been a greenway, it had been a railroad track. And then that had stopped in the 80s. And so this became a spot where artists, graffiti artists could come down and really, if we come back here, we can actually see, some of the, for years, I mean, think about it, it's underground, right? So that you can have time to really make and create things. And instead of, just getting rid of all of that when they put in the greenway part and cleaned it up a little bit, they embraced it, and more than that, doubled down on it by hiring local artists to paint additional murals throughout the greenway. And this one was really special because it was collaborative with the attendees of the event, right? So tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so the day before I painted kind of my interpretation of the city's flag in black and white on the other side of the mural, which was kind of the prep work for the mural on this side, which we're looking at. For that event, prior to the event, I had masked off the wall with some paper and tape, and created a message, but told, once the community came, I told them, the prompt was to tag the wall with your name, with your family members, friends, people who inspire you about Detroit, and things like that. So Detroit leaders. The idea is that we're going to create this layers and layers of colors, and using all spectrums of color, using plutonium paint, which is a aerosol-based company in Detroit. So Detroit people, Detroit paint, creating this message. And while we were doing it, somebody asked me what was going on, and they knew that there were some letters, behind the paper. I told them it says "We Are Detroit," and he was kind of taken aback because he said, "Well, did you hear that the city just declared bankruptcy?" And so before we revealed this thing, the city had made that announcement. And so we pulled it all back, and it was kind of like emotional for me, where we revealed this message of hope, and the community had come together to create this beautiful work of art together. And it was just sort of like Detroiters being Detroiters, and even though things are hard, and when things are, when we're down and out, we're still out here doing great things. And and now where the city has come since 2013, it's it makes me so happy to see things are happening.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the most photographed pieces, and and they've done many other murals along the DeQuinder Cut, but this is definitely. And I remember, I actually almost went to that event, and I can't remember what it was now, but I was trying to do multiple things and pop it, go here and go there or something, and I didn't make it. But we had just moved to literally a block behind this, on Orleans there, kind of
Nice.
in April of 2013, right? So I was walking around, it was definitely around there when I got the notice about the bankruptcy also. And there's, absolutely this idea that, it comes from, our city motto, Speramos meliora resurgit ceneribus. We hope for better things that will arise from the ashes. And Detroit has faced crisis after crisis, especially, Black Detroiters and people of color have just been, and we have an entire tour around the history of racism in Detroit. And the crises have not always been accidental or, in that sense, right? They have been man-made and policy-made. And despite all of that, Detroiters do come together. They do inspire and collaborate. It is definitely, I feel and I'd love your thoughts as you travel around other cities. I know when I travel and work with people from other cities, they are frequently surprised at the level of collaboration, and willing and wanting to work together to make their neighborhood and, or, whatever, I would say, hey, let's do this. And I think that's a really special thing that kind of is here in this We Are Detroit mural that
Yeah.
you can help create.
Yeah, so I feel like if you're able to go check it out in person, then take a peek behind. It's
Yeah.
an old mural, and they're both kind of they're showing their age and they're tagged on and whatever. But the other side, so that the black line work for the city's flag, and it's named the title of the mural is the city's motto, but I can't say it like you just did, so I'm not even gonna try. So it's named after the city's motto, and then the black line work, the color of black, the idea behind it is that includes every color of the spectrum. So when it comes to physical color and paint, you can make black, right? You can combine colors to make that color, even though black is not a color itself. So black requires this idea of like collaboration of individuals, which is what physically was represented the next day of people of all color, races, gender, came to create this thing using all the different colors. And so that they are then actually the line work that composes the city flag in the piece that's behind it. So they're essentially one painting.
That is so amazing. And just to show you guys here, we'll zoom out. So this again is the DeQuinder Cut. And if you're not familiar, we actually are going to be doing in-person tours of the riverfront and DeQuinder Cut, sponsored by the Riverfront Conservancy starting in June. But you can enter the cut, DeQuinder Cut here at Atwater, here at Lafayette. But this one is closest to the Gratiot entrance. So here's Gratiot, and there's a big parking lot right here, which is really handy. And then you can enter right here. And this is almost exactly where the map piece is where the that We Are Detroit mural is that again, artist Mike Hahn put together with the help of all of these amazing Detroiters that were there to support the riverfront in the DeQuinder Cut. So cool. So gosh, that was 2013. It was a long time ago, right? And so then talk about the exhibit that you're doing, that you have currently going on, and how that came to be, and how you had to tweak it because of COVID, and what's going on with that.
Yeah, so I got reached out to by Sarah Ayers, who is a curator, and she's been working with the Siren Hotel for their artist residency program, as that was kind of one of the fun, I guess not quite a pivot, but like a way for them to provide a resource for the community during a hard time. So it was really interesting creative use of space where, hey, we can't have, guests here, and we have a ton of space. So why don't we invite artists, one at a time, to come, spend some time here and create some work. And so, I got
An
to be
innovation,
part of.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
so I got to be a part of that, and had a plan to create a series of paintings there. And the week before I actually was set to do the residency, there was that mass shooting in Atlanta. And so it really kind of disrupted my thinking, and really affected me in a way that I felt like I needed to actually speak to something. Like my work does, it generally speaks about creation and consumption, the idea that we, are individuals, and that we're connected to, that we're all connected, and connected to a larger sort of, community. And so these, the general themes is really fun to then kind of dive in deeper, where the context of the work was going to be, because it's my work is typically site specific. In doing it at the hotel, I worked on some found substrates. The sustainability is a big part of what I do, but using reclaimed, sort of discarded atlas pages that were all torn and from old books, and so I wanted to bring the global travel kind of through theme through the material. and the age of them, kind of both reflect the siren, in this 20s era kind of, space. So I was to create something that was on US maps and then also on world maps, so that I could essentially create pieces that spoke about America, where we're in the United States, and we live in this land, but we are comprised of people from all around the world, right? Being American doesn't have a certain look, even though that's kind of something that I've been conditioned to see. So that's what this was. It was like really a lot of introspection and thinking about, how to help people understand that we are individuals. We have individual needs. Like as an Asian American, I have unique needs, but that we are all connected. I am also American. I'm seen as Asian, but I'm 100% American. I was born here, right? English is my first language, but I'm not viewed and seen as American. And when I go to Korea, I'm not seen as Korean, so it's like this really interesting kind of, Americanness was sort of explored here, and that it was that then segregated, right, into black and white, positive and negative images in two different rooms, where the US maps were kept separate from the global, the international maps. And so this is essentially a fundraiser. And so when somebody buys an artwork, they're uniting two disparate parts. They're taking something from around the world and something from the United States, a positive and a negative image, and bringing them together to create one painting. So it's that decision, right, to become, to be American, right? It's the decision to be united. And these choices are things that we can make. And so it was a project to speak about, the current landscape and how we can raise awareness and raise money, to help people understand a little bit more about Asian Americans and their needs, and to hopefully help see people of color as Americans, which is going to take a lot of time and effort, to change.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the part about America, I mean, that is actually what makes us unique as a country, is how diverse we are, right? And I realized that maybe, I mean, or it really hit home when I studied abroad in Spain in college with 20 other students from our university, and we'd be walking down the street and people would say hello, and I'd be like, how do they know we're American? Maybe I'm Polish or whatever. But it was because we had somebody who was 100% Filipino, 100% Irish, and I'm 50% Polish. We had Black, we had such, it was that we were all different yet together, that really told everybody that we were American. And that was a really just powerful realization that I had at that time. And it is really true. I mean, not that there isn't diversity in other countries, but if you go to Poland, like 99% of people in Spain, are in like upper 90s of whatever country you're in are, again, I'm generalizing to some extent, but that was, and why travel is so important too, to be the person that's different in another place, or to see how other people see the world. And I think it's amazing that you were able to do that, take all of those ideas and use that to create this exhibit. So these pictures that we're showing, are this still in the siren? And really quick, I just want to show people where the siren is, and people have probably seen it. We'll do another one of these street view things here. You might remember the siren. It's right here by, there's the Opera House. If you've been to the Opera House, you've probably have seen what was the Wurlitzer building, or is the Wurlitzer building, right here. And with the street view, we can go back, talk about reclaiming discarded pieces, right? So this was an abandoned building for decades, originally built in 1926 as the Wurlitzer building, which, yes, making Wurlitzer pianos and organs and things like that. And we were just talking about too, so this was a coffee shop, and Chris, who still lives here, so he now has rented out the bottom and even the roof space to the Siren Hotel, but still lives here on the second floor, was, almost could have been killed when a chunk of the abandoned building fell through his roof here, right? But this kind of I guess I mean, it is a mural, right? I mean, it's, you call it a mural.
Yeah,
Free coffee with purchase of Wurlitzer building was this kind of great kind of joke slash mural that has been there. And then now you have the actual, just opened a few years ago, Siren Hotel, as well as some great small businesses inside here adjacent that are technically part of the Siren, or, the space that the Siren Hotel leases. So it is a really, so they obviously made it into this boutique hotel, and then to then really be inviting local artists and other food folks in here too. Like this is Kate Williams, Carl's place, but it's a great space. So where did you, were there multiple rooms that you put things in, or some things staying? Like, is this a room somebody could rent and your piece would be up there?
sure. So this is actually what we're looking at now, is the room that I got to stay in.
Awesome.
And so I did the first installation, yeah, in the room that I stayed in. Um, and then the second installation was in a suite. It was actually the room right above. And these were only installed for one night. I installed them and we did a photo shoot with them. But then they were taken down because we unfortunately weren't able to have people in and out to be able to like have an actual public opening and to view the work, as yeah, they have a lot of restrictions there still. And so we wanted to then capture it in a beautiful way and then present it just online and do this online exhibition and fundraiser. And we've actually raised a ton of money so far, which is amazing. Like yesterday, we just broke $6,000. And so I'm so excited. Like personally, that was kind of my goal from the start. But as soon as we started seeing some numbers come in, I'm now, my target is 10. Like I want to hit 10 grand to donate to Hate is a Virus, which is an organization that's working to dismantle racism, empower the Asian, AAPI community with education, awareness, and a lot of different resources for a broad variety, mental health and elderly protection and things like that. So very excited to donate a significant amount of money to them, and hoping to be able to do, leverage art for fantastic, causes in the future as well. So.
Amazing. So if people want to, and I might be, it just kind of goes into the call to action part, I think, but if people want, can they still get pieces? Is it on the shop part where?
Yeah. So yeah, if you go into the shop, yeah, all of them are there. And so they are going to be on sale until May 8th. And then I'm planning on doing kind of a wrap on Instagram Live and making that final announcement, with the total. And yeah, actually I ended up like, over the weekend doing a little bootleg thing and like selling some paintings that I did that were not made there that are kind of similar for cheaper, but for 100% donation. So I was like, okay, I'm still not, I want to increase, the donation. And so it's just been really fun to kind of learn about this process of how to sell art online, but then also, how to raise money for a cause, and how to be part of something. So it's been a really wonderful experience so far. Oh, you're on mute. I think you accidentally bumped it on. Yeah.
Clicking through the exhibit here, and then I mute myself. So it's cool because here you can see what you were talking about. So you have one piece from each side, like you were saying, one from the world map, and one from the American map. And also here you can, if we click on it a little bit, people, as I think against the wall, it was hard to see, but you can, or on the farther away, but you now can see the actual maps behind it. So it's really, I love art that really, that kind of looks different from far, or has like those two views, right? Like you can, oh, wow, that's really great from afar. And then you get into it and you get closer and you really see even more detail. And I feel like you get almost two pieces of art in that sense, from, so this is really special.
Yeah, and they're fun because they're the same painting. So the one on the left was painted first on the US maps and is the positive. And so it's kind of also a fun play on like being American too, is like as Americans, we feel like we're kind of the best, like, and that others are sort of secondary. So like unintentionally, just by describing, the works as being, positive image and a negative image, it's sort of like we kind of also talk that way sometimes. So it's really interesting though, when you look at them side by side, that like they're the same, but they're completely different, right? And again, like all of that, these analogies continue to play off of the idea of Americanness, right? And what does American look like, right? And it could look like someone from Denmark. It could look like somebody who was unable to speak English, who's from wherever, right? Like, and so I think it's really fun to be able to put these things side by side in juxtaposition, but having them mindfully be like, okay, it's the same thing. And that's a really fun thought, that you can have both things be true.
Absolutely. So the website is thehouseofhan.com. People can see it here, and we'll also link to it as well. So, and there's other things that you can read more about. Mike, everyone can read more about you on here. This is where you can buy it. And then also your social media. What if you want to
Mike Han _Detroit.
Mike Han _Detroit. Okay. What other, because we could talk forever. We've already been going a while. Well, and I think I'm gonna, after I start talking with everybody, I always want to talk more. So I'll have to just do a part 2 at some point, or obviously next time you have something, exhibit that you want to talk about. But I'm just so glad we got to reconnect. And what I always end with, what's your call to action? What do you want people to, after hearing this, watching this, go and do? Besides buy your painting, definitely buy the paintings and commission you for things. I'm going to throw that all in there so you don't necessarily have to. So follow you on social media.
Yeah. So yeah, all of those things are great. But I think, the biggest thing, it's a learning that I've learned from doing this project was to be kind, and I've heard through like the rallies I went to and stuff like that, kindness is easy. And I think that that's actually incorrect. I think kindness is very hard. I think it takes a lot of effort to be kind, because being kind when it matters means that you have to be kind to someone who doesn't have the same opinion as you, who's angry at you, who doesn't like you. That's my call to action, is like, if you can try to, even though it's not fair and even though it's not warranted, or like you shouldn't have to do whatever, that's what I'm advocating for now, is to just try to be kind even when people don't give you kindness. If you're greeted with anger or whatever, that just try to do the hard thing, because that kindness, if we all practice that, I think we'll be in a much better place, and hopefully, more loving and more unified country, with people who are caring for one another, versus focusing on the flaws and why they don't like how different other people are. So just celebrate our differences and be kind, even when it's hard.
Wonderful. That is absolutely, it is a lot harder than people make it out to be fair. Oh, and cats make people smile for the most part.
Yeah.
As long as you're allergic, I guess. But wait, show the cute. That's a great way to end too. Tell us,
Yeah.
introduce us to Kitty.
Yeah, so this is Tum Tum. He's been here the whole time, and he's great.
And cats kind of bring out the kindness in us too. So
Yeah.
Great way to wrap up. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everything you have done and are continuing to do in Detroit and around the world, also with all of your travels. I'm glad that you're in Detroit. I'm kind of selfishly glad that you are in Detroit right now, and I am really excited to look at some more of your pieces that are currently for sale, and wait for what's next for Mike Han.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeanette. It was so great to catch up with you, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Me too. Thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget to find more information about the City Institute and Detroit Experience Factory and our virtual tours, and watch past episodes at thecityinstitute.com. And keep supporting Detroit, keep supporting Detroiters. And as Mike says, be kind even when it's hard. Have a great day.